Hey everybody, it's Mo, your host here at Real Relationships, Real Revenue. Super, super interesting episode today. I'm with Yiannis. Yiannis, say your last name.
Gavrielides.
Yes. I tried so hard. We actually practiced the audience before I could do it. I'm going to try. Gavrielides.
You should do it. Yeah, and now
Gavrielides.
you have to get that again. It's a Gavrielides.
Oh, Gavrielides. Is that
That's
like,
good.
that's
That's
a
good. Well,
6
that's
out
good.
of 10? Is that a 6 out of 10? Be
Yeah,
honest.
well, yeah, 5.5, 6. We'll practice with the episode.
Gavrielides. Okay, here's why Yiannis is on the show. Well, A, you can tell we're going to have some fun. B, he's bringing the juice. He's bringing content. Yiannis is CEO of a really cool tech company I've stumbled on through. We have some mutual clients, and he is building some tech that's really good. A lot of different things, actually. We'll probably talk about a couple things. One of those is called Covve, Covve, and it's a really slick and powerful relationship management, helpfulness, nudging, your strategist in your pockets technology. I'll let you talk about it, Yiannis. But I think what's really going to be neat about this episode is what we see with technology providers and technology builders and designers like Yiannis and his whole dev team and everybody is they're building tools to help people remind themselves they need to reach out to Janine or Philippe or whoever. We've got the side where we're teaching, how do you reach out? What is effective? How can you deepen a relationship? And man, the marriage of behavior and tech is magic. And Yiannis, why don't I just kick to you? What's the big idea today? What do you want to bring the audience? Where should we go?
Great. Thanks for that, Will, and thanks for inviting me. I'm loving this already. So I'll tell you what the focus is now. Before that, very quickly, I'll reiterate some of your points. So like my co-founder, Alex, and myself, we used to work in international services firms, big consulting firms. So the frustration was there where we wanted to grow our client base and to grow our business, but we're also servicing our customers. So this is a very interesting challenge we had. And the frustration was that the tools we had were either CRM, which was all about the deal, but we were not salesmen. We had to grow our business because we believed in it. We were building relationships. So we had like a CRM, all about the deal. And then we had like LinkedIn, it's all about me. So we wanted to build tools that were all about my relationships, all about making it a habit of building real relationships. So that's where it started. I'm going to fast forward now to what's keeping us excited, what's really valuable now. So now we're working on two things. On the product side of things, we are, as is everyone now, we are embracing AI. We started working with AI, with artificial intelligence back in 2019, and we are ramping up our efforts. So some very, very cool features, I'm sure we'll discuss them later, helping people using AI, helping them manage and build relationships. And the second thing is on the education front, working with experts like Yumo and like Doug Lester, who is a career strategist at the leading business schools like Harvard and advising FTSE 100 companies. And also very proud to say Professor Robin Dunbar, who's like responsible for Dunbar's number. We're working with the leading evolutionary psychologist on what's helping people as humans, what's actually helping us build relationships and trust. So that's the second thing we're very excited about, working with people to share knowledge.
Yeah, Yiannis, let me jump in there because I just want to talk about the prestige of Professor Dunbar, because people maybe have heard of Dunbar's number. They may not know there's actually a human being that came up with it and that he's alive and he's working with Yiannis, and it's really exciting. So why don't you tell the group about Dunbar's number? It'd be more fun to have you say it.
Of course, Professor Dunbar has been doing 25 years of research on how we build relationships. One aspect of that research is just small. There's so much. It's very exciting. One aspect is that a person can have up to 150 meaningful relationships. And Professor Dunbar shows like the different stages of this, the different groups that we as humans categorize people in, and we have this cadence and we stay in touch with. And it's amazing how much into our physiology and biology this goes into, and not just the theory. But what we're doing with Professor Dunbar is we want to expose the research that he's doing in a way that is very digestible and where people can understand it, so that they can actually use it and understand it and use it in their everyday relationships. And we're doing a series of episodes called Wired to Socialize. where we investigate with Professor Dunbar all these things, but asking him very important questions like how do we build relationships in this hybrid environment we live in now? And it's going to be very interesting. We're launching the first episode in the next few days.
Oh, that's awesome. Can we get links to that and put it down in the show notes for everybody?
Of course.
Okay.
I'm going to send it.
Good. Okay. So audience, what we'll do, we'll put that down in the show notes when it's linked, because this, through the magic of podcasting, since that will come out in the next few days and this episode will come out in the next few weeks, they will be live, even though they're in the future, they're in your past.
It's amazing.
It's magic. Okay, Yiannis. So I love that. And I love this pairing of behavioral science and moves and things you can do, actual practical actions that you can pair with technology to help nudge you to say when to do it, how to do it, using AI to help you do it, things like that. So where should we go next? What do you think is the trick behind like behavioral moves and technology?
So our mission here at Covve is to make sure that technology is always there to help and not replace. And this is now, it's becoming a very, very big question now with the metaverse. I mean, we have all this hype with the metaverse and whether we're going to be living in this online world. And I'm not going to dwell into that. I think from our perspective as Covve, it's all about helping people go back to, because we're living in a very fast world now and everything is very transactional, go back to reaching out, having a call, listening. It's not about just the reason I called, it's listening, understanding the other person, and making a habit of doing that, of nurturing that relationship and making a habit of being back to human. So it's interesting because we want to use tech to make us more human rather than to actually replace our human element.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too philosophical, so I'm going to take it back to tangible stuff. So we help people, like an exercise app would, we help people make a habit, stick to a habit, monitor their progress against a habit, against goals. So like a diet app and an exercise app would do, help you make sure that your networking and your reach out efforts are meaningful and they actually help you build relationships and they're not just transactional.
Yep. I'll tell you, I think you'll find this interesting, but I'm working with my publisher for our next book, really excited about it. And he did some research and we're really trying to pin down. I really think he's the number one business book expert in the world. I really believe that. I've found him. It's unbelievable. He publishes one book a year. He's the author as much as the author chooses him. It's almost the inverse of the big publishing world, which is awesome. I'm really happy with my publisher, everybody that was on the team to write Snowball System. It was great. I was with the big five publisher, Hachette, and public affairs within that, a book like it just in great group. But Todd's approach is different. As opposed to sort of writing a book proposal, getting an agent, getting a book, the way he works it is we sign a contract, he chooses us, we choose him. We have spent now almost 6 months just trying to figure out one thing. What's the title and what's the subtitle? And then we're going to pin that down next week. He's flying to Atlanta from Portland where he lives. And we're going to pin down the title, the subtitle, which we're almost done with. And then the description, about a paragraph, what's on the inside front jacket of a book. And then the table of contents. And then the manuscript's just going to fall out of that. And for folks who haven't written a book, it's almost the opposite of the normal process. Yiannis, this is super interesting. We have been doing studies and interviews with our clients, with our partners, with our facilitators. We've got about 15 people who train and coach. And we're looking for what are the right words that resonate with people. And the words sales, all of our people hate. Networking, sounds like you want to go, take a shower afterwards. Even the words business development, one of the feedback, one of a hot tier one consultant who's really successful with business development shared with Todd, my editor. He said, yeah, I don't like those words because it feels like a time code. That's where you put time when you weren't doing anything else. Business development, air quotes around that. The words that are relating to people are growth and relationships. Those are by far the top two. And I think those are going to be in the title and the subtitle. Here's the crazy thing, Yiannis, and I want your opinion on this. Todd's got a database, as he should, he's amazing, of the top 10,000 business books ever sold. The top 10,000. He did a query. You guess now, how many of the top 10,000 business books ever sold have the word relationships in either the title or the subtitle?
Top 10,000.
10,000 is our denominator.
That's okay. I'll say, that's a hard one. I'll say and I'm going to be exaggerating.
Yeah. Because you can sort of see where I'm steering you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm going to exaggerate. Of course, I'm going to.
You're going to have fun.
So it's 10,000. I'm going to say 2,000. 2,000 out of 10.
69. That's it.
Just 69 books.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That's why our audience can't find
amazing.
Books. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's such an opportunity.
I know.
I thought you would say like that. That's the thing to be writing about.
I know. So talk about a hole in the marketplace, and we're going to go own it. And when Todd's been asked me, hey, what books do your professional services clients read? There's no theme. It's just popular books like Good to Great or Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, things like that. But there's not a book for, I use air quotes, and I hate to even say the word, but sales, business development, and the words I don't even like them, but I don't know what else to use. But if we just say growth, there's just a handful of books out there that are on growth and deepening relationships for people in service-based businesses. And it's just crazy. And I think that's part of the reason you're having so much success with Covve is there's analogous books to air quotes CRM. Like you don't even want to say CRM. It's not what you do. But, there's lots of CRMs out there and they're all about like almost caveman beating, meet client, assess need, send proposal, nag the heck out of them until they say yes, or they're probably going bonkers. But CRM entices you to do bad things, whereas a relationship technology can entice you to do good things. A relationship book could help you deepen relationships. So anyway, your thoughts on all that?
I was going to say that's amazing to hear. And the opportunity is there, definitely. And I actually, we see people referring in networks and in conversations about the return of relationship. Ooh. So it's interesting that people are looking at, and it's a term like a friend of mine mentioned, in a call about a week ago, I think, where she said, did you know that return of relationship is being mentioned again and again? And it's interesting to see. And I think we've lived in a time where it was all about inbound and how do we get the message out and get inbound in, and it still felt transactional. And I think it's great to see that now, actually, to differentiate yourself both in growth, I'm not going to say sales, but both in growth, but also to differentiate yourself from a career perspective, because that's another thing that's really, really it's very, very a big issue right now with all the layoffs in the industry. I mean, to differentiate yourself, I think in career and in growth, you need to go a step further than what we've been doing. And I think that step further goes back, and this is what I feel very optimistic about, actually. Yeah. It goes back to the fundamentals of our society and how it got cultivated from villages upwards of actually socializing and building trust. And that's great, especially considering and this opens this up, the mental health awareness and how stressed people are about not meeting anyone or being in front of a PC all day. Yeah. So I'm very optimistic that relationships are coming back on the forefront, and we're all talking about meaningful relationships and not transactional.
Yes. But everybody, and I'm talking to the audience here, there are so many studies. I have 6 or 8 documented in our database of about 200 studies that back up everything we do. But when we look at the literature around relationships, what we're trying to do is say, what kind of things can we do to more quickly deepen relationships, be helpful, and things like that. But what you find when you stumble into those research papers is that healthy relationships, strong relationship ecosystem has massive benefits to your health. People live longer. They are happier. They're more fulfilled in life. If there's one thing you want to get right, it's relationships. And all this crap, I'll just say it right now, audience, all this crap out there that says relationships are dead. All you have to do is be smarter than your client, provide insights. That is just absolutely wrong. It's just wrong. Relationships are where trust is built. We say yes to people we like more often. We hire people we like more often. Doctors spend time with patients they like more often. Their health outcomes are better when the doctor likes the patient likes the doctor. This body of research is so strong, it's irrefutable. So, Yiannis, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because if we can flip the paradigm for professionals from selling, and I'm air quoting the word to purposefully put it off in a corner, if we can flip the paradigm from selling to deepening relationships, everything in life gets better, more fun, more meaningful, and all that. So I know we both believe that, but I just want to say that to everybody. So now let's get super practical. You've seen a lot of our content. you've seen our 5 drivers of likability, commonality, frequency of contact, mutual beneficial relationships, balance, not always being positive, but having the right ratio of positive to constructive, and then uniqueness, being helpful in times when somebody doesn't expect. What are some of the top things you see all of your folks who are using the app, folks you come in contact with, you do a lot of trading? Like, what do you see people do that are the best of the best, successful? Your take.
Well, I would say that the best of the best will take notes. So I'll go to practical. The best of the best, first of all, will be very open to meeting people. They would be open to meeting people that they don't necessarily have a direct, free, understood benefit to gain from. So that's what I mean open. And then you would see that, and this again backed by science, but you would see that a very good connector will then share and listen. So share a bit, don't talk too much, and then listen again. I think it's interesting because then Professor Dunbar brought this to perspective. Professor Dunbar has this amazing research on the 7 pillars of friendship, which is basically the fact that subliminally we do check for things on the others. I'm not going to, if this is a teaser, we'll go back to the link after.
I want to hear the 7 things. I want to hear this, but it's coming. Keep rolling.
It's a teaser.
We'll come back to that.
But
creating some curiosity.
The interesting thing there is that you need to open up, and you need enough interactions, both in the first acquaintance, but in the first meeting, but also in the follow-ups. So usually what we do is, if there's interested and if some of the pillars match, then we would go for the non-science of us. If you feel some rapport, like with it, Mo, like over barbecues and stuff like that. So if you feel some rapport, then what you would do is you would frequent that communication naturally. So the best out there will reach out. You will reach out again. They would follow up again to investigate, to play with that relationship and understand whether there's mutual rapport. And
commonality.
I think, commonality. The best networkers, when I say listen, they're very active listeners. So that means that they understand the challenges or the opportunities and what the other person is facing. And they offer to help out if they can. So they offer to help out with introductions, which is amazing because that grows the network, and it also creates a touch point for the introducer because he's introducing 2 people afterwards. Introductions are a huge subject, of course, but they offer to help out with introductions or for sharing knowledge. So this when you meet someone, so that this creates this quick understanding of each other, which is very essential, and the rapport, and then it also built into the reciprocity of the relationship. Because if you do offer, then the other person offers back, and you create that reciprocity.
I want to point something out. I thought it was 3 things, because what I wrote down for the whole audience is, number 1, these are gold, everybody. Pay attention to what Yiannis just shared. Number 1, be open to meet people, even if it's not obviously apparent what you're going to get out of it. There's some research that says we hate networking, but when people prime a group to get together and say, hey, don't worry about what you're going to get. Go find somebody in this group. You don't know anybody. There's 25 people in the room, whatever. Go find somebody you can help. All you have to do is come back at the end and tell us that you help somebody. When people are primed to enter a room and just look to be helpful, they actually love the experience at the beginning and the end, especially if you're mentally primed to get something out of the group. You feel icky, gross. No one, 1 out of 1,000 people likes it, but not many. So being open to meet people, if your mind is primed to be helpful, you're more likely to enjoy it, to feel some intrinsic motivation, to just want to be a part of it. That's number 1. The second thing I heard Yiannis talk about is share and listen, with the focus on active listening. That was gold. In initial meetings, I really, really, really like having the other person start. Even if they say, hey, Mo, can you tell us a little bit about Big? Man, I am trying to keep it 45 seconds and then go back to them. Tick the box because they asked for it, but go right to them. And in listening, one of the most important things you can do is ask for the person's personal perspective. There's some research that shows self-disclosing information, what researchers call SDI, just sharing something only they know, is particularly powerful to activate the pleasure center of their brain. So something like, hey, Yiannis, what's your personal take on something? You've probably heard me say questions like that throughout. What's your personal take? What do you think from your perspective, given your experience? Those little elements that you can add to a question are really important. And then that third thing, you nailed it at the end, offer to help, potentially introducing to somebody else, getting a 2X, a twofer, introducing one person to another. So I just want to go back and recap those with a little bit of science because audience, what Yiannis said was powerful. All right. So you
Thanks
were
for that.
saying
That
that was
made it
just
so
one
much
thing.
more structured. Yeah, because I was and I did mention the beginning, and I skipped it afterwards about taking notes. I think the
Yes.
best out there have a system to help them. It could be
Yes.
anything. It doesn't have to be like the most powerful software. It could be just taking
Yep.
notes. So they would take notes on where they met, who introduced them, what was interesting to help them like continue that relationship.
I just want to reinforce that. There's been many times I've been in classes or facilitators have, and somebody goes, "Oh, I don't know about taking notes. It feels icky. Is it weird to write down their kids' birthdays or something like that?" No, you're putting them up on a pedestal when you're taking notes. We take notes about projects. We take notes about new regulations. We take notes about what's happening in the practice area meeting. Why in the world would we not take notes on our most important project, which is deepening relationships? There's nothing bad about it. It's trying to be helpful to the person. And there's no way on earth, audience, you can remember in your head, bouncing around in your head, all the details about people in their relationships. If you take notes, that means when you go to a city, you can do a quick query and see who lives there. It means when your favorite football team in the Premier League has an upset, you can do a quick notes and see who are fans of that team. Like having a database of your relationships and what people are interested in and how you met, things like Yiannis is talking about, it is probably the most important piece of data you can have. So if you feel hesitant, get over yourself, just start trying it with the next couple meetings and you'll yield results out of it in a couple weeks, let alone over a couple of years. Yiannis, can you comment on that exact issue? Because I've seen a lot of people hung up on that and they've just got to get over it.
Oh, I love what you said, Mo, and I love the fact that you put the elephant in the room, which is like the fact that people feel guilty about doing it. I think it's really important. It's first of all, as you said, it's spending time on a person, like taking notes. It's being thoughtful. I don't understand where you were expected to remember everything. It's being thoughtful about a person, taking notes. It's also very important if you are trying to help. If you're actively trying to help, then you want to note down what they're looking for and what they're after.
Yeah.
And then when that introduction opportunity comes, then that's where you can do a perfect match. So there's this person who is after hiring a developer, and then there's this developer that I want to help out. And then you can't do this effectively enough if you don't take notes. We have to face the fact that we're very, very busy. So we have to face the fact that we need to take notes like we do with our to-do list, like we do with our projects, as you said. So I'm a very big proponent of this. And I think it keeps you also top of mind. So if you're the person who can answer, and I'm going even more specifically now, we really connected with Mo and talking to the audience over barbecues, big barbecue festival, which is amazing though, because if you connect enough, then the next time I'm actually doing a barbecue and I'm smoking, and then Mo comes to mind. And it's great and natural. And the thing is, even if I took notes, and the next time I'm going to be looking for someone to actually do a barbecue, if I haven't talked with Mo for a long time and he slipped my mind, that brings him back to mind. And that could be, hey, Mo, I've been thinking about you and what can we do? And I think we need to go past this hurdle and be very practical with our networking as well.
100%. Let's actually tell the story about how that happened, because I think it's really natural, it's authentic, it's genuine, it's real, all that kind of stuff. We were on our first or second call, I guess our first call. And we had gotten connected through our mutual client, tier one consulting firm. And they said, hey, you should meet Yiannis, and Yiannis, you should meet Mo. It was great. And we had a really great conversation, mostly on business stuff in the beginning. And I think we were home, if I remember, Yiannis, and maybe one of your kids came in the door. Do you remember that?
That's true.
And you're like, my son or daughter came through. I'm cooking this. And you just said it real nonchalantly. Hey, I'm having a bunch of friends over tonight. It's a Thursday night or whatever. And of course, you're ahead of me in Greece. So I'm a bit jealous because you're close to happy hour and I'm not. He said, yeah, my son or daughter just came in. They let me know that, one of the whatevers is getting close to coming off. And I got this big barbecue. And this was your brilliance in this, Yiannis. You go, hey, let me just show you a picture. Let me just show you a picture of this barbecue. And you even double click your desktop or held up your phone or whatever. And you have this like super cool barbecue. It's where it looked like it's 50 feet long in the picture. It looks so big. And it's got all this high-tech gadgetry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this thing called Gather Grill, and it's round and it's got a circular thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for something that like my whole life. So then I introduced you to the CEO and the founder of Gather, because we've made a small investment in the company as they scale up, because I love the grill so much. And now we're going back and forth all the time with photos. And I was at a big barbecue this weekend. It was just great, but you did it. So I think it's up to us as professionals to find the commonalities. That means we've got to offer specifics and ask for specifics. You could have easily said, oh yeah, that's one of my kids. We're doing some stuff. Like that's not specific, but you said barbecue. That enhanced the chance that who knows if I like barbecue, or Alexa did. She was on the phone too. Who knows if we like that? But there's a higher chance of us finding it out if you mention something specific.
I think, just to second that, I think it also makes me vulnerable. I think this is, I do it naturally, but it opens up my private life, and some people are very closed about that. And I think the fact that when it opens it, also drops the defense of the recipient. Because and again, this is like a complete analogy, but me opening up drops your defense as well, saying, okay, this guy's, he's got his kids in the room. And he's just told me about his guest and he's showing me pictures of his barbecue. I think it's very important to open up a bit.
It's so important. It's so important. And some of our super analytical thinkers out in the audience maybe won't like the word vulnerable. But if you don't, I like it, but you can also substitute just being real, authentic, open, sharing. Like there's lots of other words you can use. I want to double click on something you said because I think it's really important. I had actually never thought of this before. So you just gave me a massive insight. When we connect with somebody else, we subliminally, sort of consciously at times, naturally might be a better word, think of the other person when we think of that thing. So my friend Arthur had this big barbecue event at his house this weekend. They have like 20 different grills going at once. There's literally a Gantt chart of all the grills and all the people, what times they get it, and they have to get off it because there's no other way to organize it because some of the things take multiple hours, So you get the big, huge 2,000-pound smoker, but you get it from 12 to 3. But buddy, you got to get that thing off of there by then because somebody else needs stuff like that. So I'm at that event and I did not even realize I did this, Yiannis. I bet I thought of you a dozen times on Saturday because I was thinking, I got to take some photos and send them to Yiannis. Oh, Yiannis would like that. Oh, maybe I should see if Yiannis will fly over for this next year. I know it's a long flight, but maybe you could cook up some business.
No, you definitely
cook up some barbecue
with the pictures. And actually, it's amazing because a friend of mine, he's a shipbroker. So a big part of his business is relationships and trust. And he was, so he's very into wine. So it's interesting because whenever I'm ordering, if I'm somewhere nice and I want to really be very specific with my wine, I'll call him up always. And he told me that actually he didn't do it on purpose. It's his passion, but by exposing his passion to his clients, he gets these calls constantly. And she said, it's amazing because I exposed the passion. And then obviously by exposing the passion, I actually exposed my excitement about it and all, because this is very emotional as well, of course, as a reaction. And then I'm getting all these people call me up. Hey, he was showing me his phone. He's got these pictures of menus, menu. I was like, what should I pick? I'm having, I don't know, I'm having game. What should I get with my game?
Yeah.
So I think it was a very nice insight for me because I do it again unconsciously, and that's how he started doing it. But then he realized that being top of mind for something is very important. And again, in New York, I was speaking with an amazing, very inspiring real estate broker. And he was telling me that because he's constantly reaching out, and this was my second big chapter, nurturing your network. But because he used to, I think I told you this I found it very fascinating. He reads the papers, still actually physical papers. He would cut out something and snail mail it, like send it through regular mail, someone that reminded it of him. But he would also always share a lot of info about the real estate market because he took a note. Mo is interested in this. And by sharing info about specific things in his industry, he became known for them. And then people would call him up and he would spend a lot of time giving free advice on these things and becoming an expert. I mean, that was his industry, but he also was very keen to share the passion and the insight. So then he got a lot of touch points and he became the expert. And then he said that naturally at one point of the sales cycle, these people are going to reach out. They reach out to me to actually find their next place because I'm the expert. And that's so important.
two things I've just got to mention. We've been running with this barbecue example because we're both passionate about it. And it's just, it was so brilliant how you brought it up. And you can hear the excitement of this bonding. You can do this too. Though you want to connect both in human ways, and that's where barbecuing or gardening or home design, or you like a certain author's books or whatever. Like those are what I would put in the human bucket, the things we're doing outside of work. But you also do want to find commonalities and connections inside of work. And that example with the real estate broker is incredible. Hey, here's an update on the new regulations. Here's an update on this appellate reversal, whatever. And I think having a nice balance of human and hireable is really important. Most professionals bias way too much on the hireable content. And then they feel like, oh, I can only reach out to Samuel in a couple of months because I just reached out a month ago and I don't want to nag him, things like that. But man, when you can blend human and hireable, it's more powerful. One last thing, and we'll get to your second big bucket, the nurturing your network. My friend and researcher, Marissa King, she is amazing. She's written a book called Social Chemistry. It's really great. We co-presented at a big client 2 months ago. It was so fun. She's at Penn. She said this in her keynote speech, and I never heard this before, Yiannis. She said that, now this was for family members, and there was some nuance around the cohort. But generally speaking, 80% of top of mindedness evaporates after about 3 months of hearing from or talking to the person. 80% of your feeling of connectedness, folks, is gone within 3 months. So if you don't have these ways of naturally connecting in the way Yiannis is teaching us, you might be thinking about your potential client 6 months from now. They are not thinking about you. You've got to have these little touch points to stay top of mind, because that's a big part of having a relationship advantage is them just thinking about you and remembering when a thing comes up, who are they going to call? You want them to call you. And if you're top of mind, there's a much higher likelihood they will. Yiannis?
Exactly. I was going to say exactly. This is where I was going to go to my second point, which is
go.
So staying on top of mind is what we described, but it's also the fact that we need to understand that we have an existing network. And obviously, as we meet people, this grows, and we need to nurture it. And again, you shouldn't feel, and many people are feeling guilt on this as well, but you should getting reminders to reach out to people. And I had these friends back then, we were putting recurring reminders to reach out to people. I think it's a trigger, an artificial one there, because maybe there was not enough natural one being built, bringing more back to mind. But then when you come back to mind, then I need to say, and this is where, if there's enough trust there, I will say, hey, what's happening with Mo? I haven't spoken to him in a while. Let me send him my latest barbecue so we can start talking about it. Or let me look him up and find news about him. So I'm first curious, and we have all these social networks that will help us gain the latest insight. But then we need to trigger ourselves to communicate. And I say communicate very consciously. It's not about seeing Mo on LinkedIn and clicking like. That's not good.
Yes.
It's because or looking, and this is where the illusion comes in as well. Looking like an Instagram photo and say, hey, Mo's at the beach. Yeah, but Mo could be at the beach with 100 concerns that I'm not aware of because he's not going to show it in Instagram. Or with a huge success that he doesn't want to celebrate publicly. So there you have to communicate. You have to ideally meet or then call or then text or email in that priority. But I think you need to connect and then share your news and get the news to the level of that you have that relationship, of course. But that's a real communication. So I think what I want to stress here is that we need to reach out. We need to make sure that network stays active and warm. And we understand the new challenges that they have, so we can offer new help and we can get new help on our challenges, whether that's growth or whether that's recruitment or whatever it is, career advice and etc. So I think it's imperative to understand that, and we ignore it on our everyday.
Yeah, so many people just let the universe guide them. Like they don't reach out until an event happens. You can't do that because all of a sudden a year, 2 years, a decade can go by. Then the person gets promoted to CEO and you're like, oh, I feel like a heel reaching out now. What do the best do around nurturing a network? So you got to have a nudge. You've got to have a system. Obviously Covve does that. People could engineer some other way using calendar or their assistant or whatever. But what do the best do around this communication, around understanding new challenges, reaching out, staying top of mind?
I think one important aspect is that note taking we mentioned before.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you have the notes on the previous conversation. That can be a great conversation opener as well. It can be a nudge to remember things, because the notes doesn't have to be like a whole essay. It can be something that's going to nudge you to remember the previous situation and then get the emotions out of it, or the details out of it. You don't need the details in the note per se. That's one thing. The other thing is making sure that once you get the nudge, and if you care to reach out, then you should research a bit, depending. I mean, I will always spend a minute or two seeing what's happening on social networks, what's happening on LinkedIn, what's new in their career. That's something they wanted to explore. Again, it's not like we're spying. That's something that my friend will have exposed. And it's for me to remember to look at it, because I passed it. I missed it because I was too busy. So again, I think it's all about understanding what's the latest, and then it's getting an excuse to reach out. I remember I was sitting on my porch one day and I got this alert. The Covve sent me the alert, but it doesn't matter. As you said, could be 100 systems. I got this alert that there was a heavy snowfall in Madrid. And I was thinking about my friend of mine in Madrid. I'm like, hey, you're enjoying the snow, and I'm in a sad situation. And this conversation went on and on. We were exchanging kids' pictures. We were like, he's a partner later. So then we're exchanging notes on the latest case. So it's amazing that one WhatsApp message about snow led to a conversation about occasion letters that I had an interest in. Anyway, it grew into a big discussion and a catch-up. It's just a trigger to get in touch. And I think we shouldn't overthink about it either. Because when you reach a point where you're feeling really, really shy to reach out, or I think that's where you shouldn't, by the way, you should give it a try anyway, but that's where you let the relationship get really cold.
Yes.
And I think that's why we're trying to keep them warm, so that it's no problem to say, hey, Mo, how's it going?
Gosh, what I just distilled out of that for you audiences, I'm taking notes for you. I'm doing your homework, audience. 3 things. I love things in threes. 1, Yiannis taught us to take notes. Again, we're hitting that point where our brains are not good at managing a complicated project, and relationship management is a project. It's one that never ends. You just will not be able to leverage your time without the note taking. So that was thing 1. Thing 2, when you get the nudge, research a little bit. Hey, if somebody puts something on LinkedIn, they are basically begging, hey, pay attention to me. A thing happened. I want you to comment. I want you to share. I want you to call me. I want some attention. So a LinkedIn post is saying, in a way, I want attention. You could also look at analyst reports, the latest quarterly earnings, look at the company's website. There's a million things that you could look at. And then the third thing, I can't hit this enough, lower the bar on outreach. We've actually got, I'll put this down in the show notes, everybody. We've got a thought piece called high impact relationship deepeners. I know that's a lot of syllables, high impact relationship deepeners. And it's 7 ways that you can reach out to somebody and they only take 5 minutes or less. And we've even got scripts that you can copy and paste and make your own. We've got a sample outreach with sending an asset, like a TED talk, a new a client alert that your company, your organization wrote, whatever. We've got it down to about 30 words. And you want these typically to be short, because while we type on our laptops, if you're watching on video, about this big, but most people are reading on their phone, about that big. So you want it to not fit on one screen on the laptop. You want things to fit on one screen on their phone. But that means you got to get it down to 30, 35 words really fast. And there's some specific ways to do it. A quick WhatsApp is a great example. It started the conversation. It says, I care about you. I noticed something. I thought of you. And then that usually the initial thing can then open up bigger. So Yiannis, comment on just high level on all that. I just want to get your take.
Yes, absolutely. I think you couldn't have said it better about the huge hurdle we feel in reaching out. It's usually holding us back, all of us, I think.
Yep.
I'll leave it for later. And having spoken to him in a while, I think we definitely need to overcome that. And I think it's all about habit forming again, because like any habit, once you do it and it works. So once you do it a few times and it works, it becomes so easy. I think that's really important. And that's what we are trying to help do as well. Like you need that habit creation.
I love it.
Actually, since you ask, the best way to reach out, and I'm going to my third one, the third.
Do it.
Because I don't know what number we're on, 6, but I like the big, these are the chapters, like the what?
Yeah.
Big
third.
So the third
chapter.
one, I think the best excuse to reach out is a good introduction. So if you were doing what we said before, and I think this is like a loop, it's a loop for growing your network and staying in touch at the same time. Because if you did your homework and you really understand the needs of someone and you listened in and you took notes and you're willing to help out, then, and you're good at filtering that introduction, because this is very important. I can't stress it enough. You don't want to be just sending anything. If you understand both people and you think it's going to be a good match, if you're open to understanding that, when you send out that intro, that's a touch point between two people in your network. It's a double touch point. So you're reaching out to two people and helping them at the same time. It couldn't be more powerful. There's no way it could be more powerful. It's a perfect excuse. It comes with value, and you're doing a double reach out. So in my view, it's just growing your network basically. Yeah. And usually what happens is people that are connectors will reciprocate. You will be top of mind. They will fire introduction. Yeah. And then when they fire, you grow your network. So this is feeding itself. Yeah. I'm simplifying here, but it is feeding itself.
No, it's so true. And I'll add in that I also think it's an annuity of touch points with two people, meaning everybody, when you make an introduction, think of your own life. You almost, whenever you meet somebody, you almost always remember the person that introduced you to that person, especially if it's a meaningful relationship. So then once you make that introduction one time, you not only get a twofer on that intro, I get like 200 touch points, because now every time those two people meet, before they meet, they thought, oh yeah, Yiannis introduced us. When you meet, hey, how's Yiannis doing? When they follow up, boy, I'm glad Yiannis introduced me to Frederic. This is really valuable. Well, there's 3 of us there, and you weren't even there. It's 2 years from now. So I love these ideas of the things you're sharing. So many things that you're sharing provide 10x, 100x touch points or mental thoughts of the person, warm thoughts of the person long after you did the thing in the way that you're describing. And I think that's really, really powerful. And a lot of people, it's totally invisible to them. They don't think about it. They think I introduced Janine and Frederic. That'll be helpful to them, but they don't think about the 100 each or the 200 total touch points or tops of mindedness they'll get from those people over the next few years.
Yep, absolutely. And Mo, actually, you inspired me to think about another behavior that I really encourage, which is basically after you introduce or you're being introduced, to follow up. And so many people forget to do this. So you fire me an introduction, I should follow up. Yeah, I met Ben and he was amazing. And again, it's an excuse to touch point, but it's also a way to thank the other person. It's a way to inspire more come, because you're giving back feedback. Because again, if we accept that this is also, you mentioned the pleasure zone as well. If this triggers pleasure and it triggers habit forming, his feedback is encouraging to introduce people to more. Because he just thanked me, so subliminally I just got, wow, that's good. So I did make a good introduction. I feel good about it. So I'm going to make another 10 introductions to Mo naturally. Whereas another person who forgot about me, subliminally I'm wrong. Yep. And this is if I'm being introduced. And also, if I'm an introducer, again, following up is important, because maybe the other person didn't follow up. That reflects, and I'm taking the other stand now. That reflects, so I'm being a bit more, this is where constructive feedback comes in. Maybe the other person is too busy, or he's not very introductive. This happened to me in the past. I'll be specific, so I explain. I introduced to people where the second person was not as keen to meeting people as I thought he would be. So he didn't reach out to me, actually. I followed up, and the other person, he was very honest. I said, he never got back to me. So I called up and I did arrange that intro and I did explain. And then I was very cautious on who to introduce, etc. But I think it's really important both to understand who are very keen for introduction, who are not. So it was a learning for me as well. But I think it was also very important because if I had let it die out, then it would reflect bad on me as well for a bad introduction. Because there was this guy exposed. He saw, great to be introduced to you. Yeah. But then there was no follow-up from the other side. So I'm exposed as well for a bad intro. Yep. So I think it's really important to follow up both as the introducer and the introduction recipient.
I mean, it's interesting, and it doesn't take long. Like, there's a PR company that focuses on authors, and I've struck up a relationship with one of their account managers, and she introduced me to one of their authors, and we had him on the show yesterday. And he wrote a new book. It's really great. So after that interview, it went so well. He was so interesting. Yiannis, yours was definitely better, but no, they're both really good. But I really wanted to make a point to email back to Hannah. Just 2 sentences, just said, hey, just want to let you know the interview with Stefan was fantastic. Thank you for, and this was a key. I hadn't thought about this till now, Yiannis, but I wanted to make a point. Thank you for making it so easy for us both to be successful. Because she teed us up with questions we might ask each other and things like that. Well, that's so darn important because I want her to know her work was really meaningful. And also just selfishly as well, I've seen their list of authors that they've got with books coming out this year. And honestly, there's like 15 people I'd love to interview. So if she knows it always goes well when I work with her folks, she's more likely to introduce me to some of their high profile authors too, which will benefit you, audience. And it's just this wonderful loop. But had I not done that, maybe he's going to let her know. Maybe he won't. I hope he does. But you did a great job by introducing us kind of idea of the follow-up loop to let somebody know how successful their effort was. It's so important. And I'm so glad you brought it up because I don't think many people put the emphasis that they can on that. And it only took like 60 seconds to write that note.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go rapid fire. What do you do to keep learning yourself? Give me like a couple sentences, Yiannis. How do you you're clearly like on your game, man, and all the great ideas and contents that you've got in your head. Yeah. How do you keep exposing yourself to new ideas to keep learning?
I don't know if it's going to be a bit cliche, but I do it through meeting people and opening up and discussing this. And I'm being very serious about it. One of my best strategies here, and it wasn't a strategy that came naturally. I love meeting people that think different than me. I have friends that are actors. I have friends. I love it. I find it very fascinating. So, and then I realized, and this was a conscious realization that it got me thinking in different ways. Because then if you are opening up to understand the perspective, because that's one thing we closed down, oh, he's crazy. He's a crazy actor. I mean, we were doing this. I'll give an example. I'm going to go very fast, but we're doing this before I started Covve, and I was in the corporate world. I had some free weekends. I didn't have 3 kids back then. So I have a very good friend who was a theater director, and I love theater. So I loved it as an audience. Anyway, cut a long story short, we did a production together. Where I was involved as the producer, and I was always fascinated. There was this amazing actress who, in the play, she cried, and then for 3 hours there was like a rape scene that wasn't visual. You couldn't see the rape. She came out of the room, and it was, I believe not that she was raped. Inferred, and she was crying, and then she would cry for 3 hours after the play. And I remember that I found that absurd. Until I started talking to her about the strategies that she's using and how she's exploring. But anyway, I found that conversation very inspiring because that's something I could never understand. How can you come out there and see really raped? I couldn't get it. This is just an example. And I constantly in my life try to get people around me and speak with people and open up with people that are bringing different perspectives, different life paths, totally different way of thinking. And that is a huge way. It's for me, at least, it's an amazing. It opens my mind to things that I didn't understand before. So that's my number one way of learning.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, 2 more questions left. One is, what do you see? I'm so curious from your perspective. What do you see are lies people tell themselves about deepening relationships that are just absolute falsehoods and they get themselves in their own way?
Nice one. So one is definitely I'm an introvert. So introverts, I mean, there's so much science around. I like how we can share the science after. I'm sure you have it as well in your courses, but introverts are amazing listeners. They're curious by definition. They don't like talking about themselves for like hours on end. So they listen a lot to what you're saying. They're amazing networkers. I'm an extrovert myself, but introverts are amazing networkers. And back to our point about listening, understanding, being empathic, understanding the other person's problems. That's one I hear a lot. And I think you entered this podcast saying about this networking being a bad word. In real networking, introverts are amazing. In the networking where you have to go to an event and like without nothing tell to everyone, I'm sure they're not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're amazing at the real networking. So that's one I hear a lot. The other one is I don't have many friends or people I know, and I'm not a networker. I can't network. That's one I hear a lot, which is basically, again, if you are open to introducing and introductions and open to meeting people, I think you can get that started. It's difficult in the beginning, but if you put a system to it and a habit, you can get it started. And the last one is the exact opposite. I'm amazing at networking, which we hear that a lot as well. And it's not that anyone brags about being amazing, but they say that I don't need a system. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. No, you're not. I mean, we're all stuck at real networking. You're just getting, as you very correctly said, triggers around you and being reactive to it, maybe very successfully, but you're missing all the triggers you're not being proactive about. And that's, I think, the big weakness there. You're looking at the networking you're doing, but there's so many opportunities you're just leaving on the table because you're not being proactive. You're just being reactive to your network.
So we're going to do this in real time. As Yiannis was talking, my head almost blew up, Yiannis. I have a great person to introduce you to. And I can't believe I didn't think of it. And it could be another person that you could collaborate with. His name's Dr. Ivan Misner. Have you heard about Dr. Ivan Misner?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So audience, I did one of my best interviews ever. I mean, just chock full of insights. It was years ago. We'll put this down in the show notes so you can check it out. If you like this episode, you're going to love that one too. They're just so aligned, different insights, things like that. So he started an organization called, I think it's BNI, Business Networking International or something like that, Yiannis?
Yes, of course I know him.
Yeah. So he's the founder and the grand poobah. And
of course I know BNI. Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but I know of him. That's what I mean.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to him. He's amazing. And we had so much fun on the podcast, on the show, on the same network. And I'll put this down in the show notes, everybody. He's got these incredible insights about how to be helpful, how to get introduced to people, how to grow your network and things like that. He's going to be another person, Yiannis, you're going to love meeting. I'll make an intro today.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. And I had so much fun with him and we had such a great episode. At the end, we hadn't ended the recording yet. And he goes, I got to tell you, Mo, you're a really good interview. I'm like, well, it almost threw me back because I didn't expect it because we hadn't hit end yet. So we actually kept it in the episode. You can listen to it at the very end. I'm like, well, what my immediate response when somebody says they like a thing, I'm like, well, what did you like about it? Or what should I keep doing? Because I'm like, you did a good job. Does it? Like, I want to know a specific. And then he dug into, why. Anyway, after that, he said, I want to introduce you to some people. So like John Gordon, famous author, is going to be on the show. We're interviewing next week, and then it'll be a month or so after that. Well, that introduction came from Dr. Misner. So it's amazing how these introductions can help. And then Yiannis, I think you and he are just going to hit it off and there's going to be sparks are going to fly. Let me just say that. So that's going to be neat. So there you go, audience. We're actually doing it right here live. That's how it's done. It's that simple. All right. Last question. This is a fun one. It's what we call everybody, the super powerful, inspirational nudge, cheesy on purpose. It's always fun. We're spinning the wheel. This is fun because there's 10 questions and there's no way the guests can prepare for all 10. So this is going to be naturally spontaneous. Okay. Oh, this is fun. What are your cadences to plan and execute and stay on track? So what do you do maybe annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily? So what are the things you do at certain intervals to make sure that you're staying on track to grow your business, to deepen relationships?
So I do from a business perspective, we do obviously have our annual, I don't want to say targets because we're an innovation company, but we have with our mission, what we want to achieve this year. There are targets as well, but a lot of times there are a few chapters we want to nail. And then we review those quarterly. And then me personally, so that's the high level. But then me personally, I will, because in order to get me unstuck from ticking boxes I love having to-do lists. I love them.
Yeah, me too.
People are against them. I love them. The problem with to-do lists, there's a danger to them. You've got boxes. I've got 20 today. I feel good when ticking them, but they don't have a way to them. So maybe I'm feeling good taking stupid things. I don't want to that don't
Yeah.
take a lot of effort. But I think in the beginning, the reason I'm saying is in the beginning of the week, I will do a few tick boxes of the very important things I want to achieve in the week. And then I'll make sure that those my daily boxes, because I have that pressure of my weekly ones, are gonna like steer the balance towards the very important ones. So that I don't have myself very satisfied with the smaller ones that I'll create during the day. So I'm trying very actively to create a system where I'm not just like going through tasks, and I do prioritize constantly the tasks I have to do. I think that's one of them. I'm not one of those people that everything has to be in place. So personally, the reason I'm saying that is personally, I wouldn't start the year saying, what do I want to achieve personally? I don't do that. Many people that do that very successfully. I'll be honest, I don't personally do that. I have a few passions, and some are very personal, like what qualities games, because I love doing games and playing stories with my kids, what quality games we do together and how much time. I'm not going to count the time, but I'll start a big piece of the year reflecting and constantly reflecting while I'm doing whether I'm doing that. And then that goes both on sports as well. I've got sport I'm very keen on. And I'll make sure that I constantly improve in them, for example. I'm not going to say I'm going to become better in skiing, but I'm going to make sure that I go skiing quite a lot so that I do become better in it, for example. But I wouldn't measure it. I don't measure anything. I don't measure it.
But it's more like a theme. Yeah. It's more like a theme. Like you're thinking, hey, I want to make sure that we're carving off family time to play Settlers of Catan or whatever you're playing. Yeah. Okay. We're going to have another call about games because I love games. I love it.
I can go on for ages.
Yeah, me too. We have we actually built our basement out in it looks like early 1900s pub, and it's all built around games with the pool tables and ring on a string. And then we have like 100 board games, everything from all the classic Euro games. And we're down there all the time playing games. We'll be down there tomorrow night, on Friday night.
We're definitely expanding on that.
Okay.
Next time.
Okay. There you go, everybody. See there, stumble into commonality when you offer specifics. It asks for specifics. All right. Yiannis, I knew this was going to be great. It's even better than I thought it'd be. What should we put down in the show notes, or how can people reach out to you? How can they learn more about you personally, about Covve, about all the cool stuff that you're doing? What should we put down in the show notes?
So I think the most important thing is we said that I love meeting new people. Feel free to reach out to me either on LinkedIn. I will put the LinkedIn one, but even on my email, I'm happy to, it's Yiannis, YIANNIS at Covve.com. So I'm very happy to get perspectives on what people think about and the new tricks on building relationships, how it works for them. Because obviously it works for other people different ways. So that's definitely one. The other thing I would say is definitely, I'd love it. I'd appreciate it. You check out our website. It's covve.com, Covve.com. And the reason is because our mission is to help professionals build meaningful relationships, help people in general. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but I don't want to spoil. You'll find everything there. But we have products from the beginning of the relationship, which is like the digital business cards, all the way, as we said with Mo, to as soon as you create a new contact, taking notes about them. So we workflows, making the habit of reaching out, getting excuses. Now I'm very excited more. We're building with AI. We're launching in a few weeks, a way to just forward an email saying, so let's say that you send me an email, forward an email to an assistant at Covve, which is an AI, and saying, add Mo as a new contact, put a note that he loves building games with kids, and also remind me to reach out. And this is in pre-language. And then you get notifications to your Covve, add a new contact, put a reminder, and then so you can communicate with Covve through your email, which is a very natural way to do it. So we're very excited with that. So check us out on Covve.com. And I'll be glad. Actually, what we can put in the notes, Mo, we can put a special offer, especially for the relationship management app, Covve Personal CRM. For a discount for your users. Absolutely, we'll put a discount for anyone who signs up using the code on your podcast.
Yeah, hey, that sounds great. And audience, just so you know, I don't get a kickback or anything and all this. I couldn't use Covve because I have 26,000 people in my database, and that was a bit over the top for the app. So we'll get there someday. But for all you normal human beings, you can use Covve. And I saw a demo of it that Yiannis sent me, and it was impressive. I was really impressed. And I got to tell you, I got it right here. I am using the digital business card that has Covve on it.
Nice.
And Yiannis, I took this to a couple events this week and people loved it. You just tap it on your phone and it automatically like downloads your information to the person. You can easily customize it, change it. It was a real differentiator. Yiannis, like somebody goes, well, hey, do you have a business card? I'm like, yeah, I do. Here it is. And they're like, what's that? And like, hey, we just tap it on your phone, like here. And like, that won't work. And then it works. And they're like, I want one. Like maybe your reaction was, I want one of those digital business cards. So I was like, I was your ambassador running around this week.
Lovely. Thank you all. It's amazing you said that, Action, because when we launched them, we thought environment, digitalization, but the one thing and we have some very big companies using us. But the one thing, it's amazing you said that, because the one thing we get as feedback is it's amazing, it's great, cost saving, but the best thing is it's a conversation start.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
And the other great thing though is that's like a game changer. It really was a conversation starter. But also I realized after we set it up, there were some changes I wanted to make. Like we have some great courses, like growbigplaybook.com is where people can go and sign up for our weekly newsletter. I spend 3 hours a week writing a little article. You can read in 3 minutes or less. And that's at growbigplaybook.com. Well, I wanted to put that on there. Well, I put it on the digital business card. I could change it in seriously 30 seconds. I mean, it didn't take longer than that. Well, if I had physical business cards, I would have had to wait until I ran out of the 1,000 I bought or whatever. And I'd be mad at myself for years. And, but it is so easy to make changes as changes occur. And I just, and it's sustainable. Like everything about it is great. So everybody, that's at Covve, Covve.com as well. I'm a raving fan of the digital business card. I just love it. So Yiannis, man, I'll put all those down in the show notes. I really appreciate the discount for users. Everybody, I think, check out the app. I was impressed by the demo I saw. Yiannis, thanks for being on the show. I knew this would be good. It was even better than I thought. And now I'm not only going to get more great barbecue recipes, but I'm going to get your best board game recommendations. And I just sense really great things for us together. And it's just a wonderful collaboration. Thanks a ton.
Mo, thanks so much for having me on the show. And seriously, I really enjoyed it. And as you said, I knew I would, but I loved it. So thank you so much. It gave me such an opportunity to express something I'm so passionate about. So it was brilliant.
Well, we're on the same wavelength, that's for sure. We're just getting started, my friend. Thanks a ton.
Thanks, Mo.